and thank you so much for joining us tonight, celebrating Filipino entrepreneurs. And I know we're going on a little late tonight, but I have a very great reason. I'm so excited to bring this amazing woman, and she's just not an entrepreneur, but also she's a pleasure to work with and has so much knowledge and experience in many facets in business. I'm your host, Alvin Adriano, and I'm so happy to have all of our viewers on tonight. I know it's a little late, but I'm telling you, it's going to be fire tonight. Again, if you're watching this live, please hashtag live. And if you're going to catch the show on the replay, definitely hashtag replay. Don't forget, wherever you are, go ahead and drop in the comments. We really want to know where you are watching from. So I've been trying to get this woman for a couple days now, and I've been so excited to finally get her on the show. I'm always looking for inspiring entrepreneurs to really share their story, and she is definitely one of those success stories. She is a selfless person with tons of insight and an innovator in all types of ways. But before I do, I did want to give a special shout out to Phyllis Masaya. She's the owner and CEO of Masarap Lumpia, who last week also gave an incredible interview about her passion for creating vegan and plant-based options for Philippine cuisine. So if you haven't seen the interview, I encourage all the viewers to check it out and really support Phyllis in her drive to send her delicious, her mouth-watering ube desserts to all 50 states. So let's all do our favor and reach out. I see we do have a couple viewers on, and I do want to thank everyone who found the time to watch tonight. And even though we're a bit late, you're going to enjoy all the great nuggets that we're going to share. See, shifting to the virtual space, we continue to be difficult for many people, and although it can never replace in-person meetings, I can say being able to network with some incredible people is truly a humbling experience. Through my show and referrals, I've met some just insane people who are just so inspiring in the passion to succeed. And so if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be just like Phyllis and Mikko, who I'll bring out, you should surround yourself with these type of people. You are a product of your environment, so surround yourself with the best and change your mindset, your perspective, and your outcome. So instead of me rambling on and on, let me tell all of our viewers about our special guest, Mikko. So Mikko Sumulong is a digital creative, a consultant and entrepreneur. She's a rare mix of tech and craft, and she has found so many creative ways to monetize craft and creativity. She creates and sells handwritten fonts and other digital assets and works with other creatives and small businesses in maximizing their digital presence. For years, she maintained a craft blog, I Try DIY, a site which has led to a number of published craft books. And in the last few years, she has expanded her work into the development of very Filipino oracle decks, namely on. Please don't characterize me. Ang Iyong Gabay on mga Baraha. Before jumping into freelance life full-time, professionally, Mikko did human resources work for a variety of companies and advertising agencies in Alaska, New York City, and locally in Metro Manila. Being a certified human resource practitioner, she continues consulting work and counsels creatives with their employment or freelance concerns. Mikko finds that successfully creating and juggling multiple income streams, both active and passive, is one of her greatest achievements. Her life goal is to now empower and enable other budding creatives to be able to do the same. She is an unbelievable woman who creates things without limitations, and I would never dare to underestimate her power. So please smash those heart buttons and give Miss Mikko a well-deserved thank you for being here tonight with us. So let me go ahead and bring out Mikko. Oh, hi Mikko.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, Alvin. Good. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to your show.
Oh, you're welcome. It's awesome to have you on here, and I know you're a busy woman, and it's so inspiring to get you finally on the show. But I mean, for all of our viewers, you're in Alaska right now, right?
Yes, I'm in Alaska. The lockdown in the Philippines kind of brought me here.
Yeah.
So I just got here last week. Yes, I'm in Alaska right now. Usually in Manila, but right now I am in Anchorage.
No, that's awesome. I mean, like I would normally be in Philippines too. I love being in Philippines, and it's just unfortunate situation.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I love Alaska too. It's an awesome place. And my travel side, I don't know if I'll just throw this out there, FYI, for all those people who haven't been to Alaska. It's I don't know if you know this, but it's the largest state out of the union. It's
Yes.
twice the size of Texas, and people don't really know that.
Hmm.
And have you ever seen the Northern Lights?
Of course. Yes. It's
Yeah.
been a while. I haven't been here in the winter for so long, but yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Not,
people don't
you know,
realize in
mhm.
Fairbanks you can see the Northern Lights 243 days of the year. So it's an amazing place. So I definitely want to tell people about that.
Mhm.
So before we get into it, like how have you been? What's been going on, and what you've been working on lately?
What's been going on? That's like one of those questions. And, you kind of went over my bio. It's really hard for me to explain what I do or what I've been busy with because I kind of made it my mission to have multiple things to do. I'm one of those people, I really, really dislike repetitive routine days. Like, that's just not my cup of tea. It's probably one of the main reasons why I quit a corporate job. I just couldn't stand doing the same thing every day. So let's go back and so what have I been doing? Now that I've moved here, I'm for at least for the foreseeable future for the next few months. I've been focusing on building my courses. I used to teach a lot of workshops for entrepreneurs in person, and then ad hoc. I would teach it online, but now I'm going to kind of build that course so that people can go ahead and take it at their own leisure, pre-recorded and everything. That's one of the things I've been working on. And then my passive income streams just they're there. They're like you said, my handwritten fonts and my website, they're still up. That's just sitting in the back burner for now. Still earning money, but yeah, haven't been focusing on that so much.
Oh no, I mean that's awesome. I mean, again, like being busy and trying to have multiple revenue streams and keeping yourself. I mean, being creative. It's on its own because you just find ways to do different things. And I had time to browse your site. But
Mhm.
in your own words, what do you do, and what are your passions, and what is it that you do that empowers people through craft and through art?
A lot of people, they have these hobbies and, this whole idea of loving what you do, right? Or doing what you love, one or the other. I always say if you can't do what you love, at least love what you're doing. But we all have these things that, or skills, talents that are just there, like our hobbies, that I feel like for most people, they don't even start a side hustle for it when they can. So especially in the Philippines, what I started doing there, I was working with a lot of creatives, artists who would sell postcards, art prints, um, but they were very dependent on stores to actually sell the products for them. So that kind of started this fire where I wanted to empower people to allow them to find their passive income streams or other ways to earn without exerting so much extra effort. So, especially during the pandemic, when everything's uncertain, to have an additional income stream would really, really help them out. So I was doing that for the last year, trying to walk people, kind of hold their hand and try to figure out how else they can earn their money with something they enjoy. So if you're an artist, maybe you can hold, classes online or sell some digital artwork. So that's kind of like what I was doing in the past year, trying to, how do you say it? Kind of like because people were so afraid not knowing where their next paycheck, I say paycheck because it's not really a paycheck, but where it would come from. But to at least give them that extra income to help them lessen that fear of,
Yeah.
because everything's so uncertain at this time. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy. When I was going through your site and you're about, um, you know, being unemployed kind of forced your hand to be innovative. And now we're in this
Hmm.
pandemic, and people are like still trying to find a sustainable living. And that's why I really wanted to bring you on, because you were
Hmm.
able to monetize your hobbies and the things that you were passionate about. And those are things that people just don't realize that they can do
Mm-hmm.
because they have fear. And you hit it right on the nail. Having fear and just letting go and trying to do it with all your passion will be able to
Mm-hmm.
find different ways to find a career in yourself. So I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad you were able to share that. We have a lot of people on the call, and people are so excited. So I just want
Mm-hmm.
to give shout outs to Jay Kino, who hashtag live, Citadel, hashtag live. Jay Kino's is rooting for you, Coach Miko. We have a new person, Life with Mia, who's hashtagging. Vera's on here, Keisha, Melody. We have tons of people on here, and I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad for you guys for taking your time out of your day to be here and share this time with us, with Miko and I.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
I know you mentioned about fonts and being creative, but
Yeah.
how did you get started in creating fonts, and when did you know that your creative side would be able to sustain your livelihood?
Okay. It's one of my favorite stories. So I used to just make fonts just because it was fun. It had not, like, didn't even cross my mind to like make money off of it. I just thought it was cute, fun. My handwriting is now a font. Great, right? So I put it up when I discovered that I could actually upload my own fonts to thefont.com. And I'm sure most of the people watching this know of the site. So I just said, I'll upload it, whatever, share it with the world. And then later on, I started seeing how many downloads people were downloading it a lot. I mean, hundreds of thousands of downloads. It kind of freaked me out a little bit, realizing how much reach it had. But I still didn't think I could monetize the fonts until one day I got this email from a producer from Australia, a movie producer, asking how much I would charge if they used the font on for one of their movies. So I thought it was a joke, like this must be a scam, right? So the first thing I did was I hopped on LinkedIn. I searched for this person to make sure that this person was associated with whatever the production house was. And
Yeah.
true enough, it was legit. So I said, okay, so people pay for fonts? Like, I didn't even know. So here I am. I Googled, checked how much the rate was, and I'm not gonna, say the amount, but I said, usually I charge whatever thousands of dollars, which is, sorry, total BS, because I've never sold my font. I said, but I can give you a deal, maybe, like however many hundred. And like I said, I don't remember the exact details. And she said, it's kind of out of my budget right now, but let me see what I can do. And she gave it to me. So I said, wait a minute, this is just one person asking for commercial. So then and for one font. And it did end up in the movie. It's called Paper Planes with Sam Worthington. It was all on all the DVD covers. It was all on the trailer, in the movie, everything. It was on the big screen. It's crazy. Like, I couldn't, my handwriting on something, right? So then I started uploading more, and then I started learning how it actually worked. Like, you can build your site, you create your licensing. So I studied it. So, it started out with accidentally, and then I studied how it worked until later on, now I have 120 fonts on my own site. And, it's been on book covers, it's been on billboards, a couple more indie films, mostly indie. My goal is to get on Netflix one day. But the more I learned what people want or are looking for, actually learning how licensing works, it just, grew from there. And then, thank God, it kind of gives me the salary. That's my passive income. And, I make one font once and I earn from it, I want to say forever, I
Yeah.
mean, Jay, when we do, Jay, who's on here, Coach Jay, he's mentioned a couple of times one of my fonts has made $7,000 for me. And that's just one of the 100. So what I'm saying is, I guess, like sometimes we don't think, that something we create just because on the fly can actually be something big because we don't look into it. But yeah, I mean, that goes for a lot of things that we people, any creative people make. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's an inspiring story. For me, I'm an
Mhm.
amateur designer and I use fonts all the time. And I'm probably one of those one out of 140,000 who download them the font, but I never realized the potential in creating fonts. And then for you to
Mhm.
monetize it in a way that you have, I know there may be certain thrill from bringing pencil to pixel. So I know for you,
Oh,
that's
for
just,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So for all of
Mhm.
our viewers that are artistic calligraphers, this could be you. You could be the next Miko. You never know.
I
Um,
mean, my goal is to, like, there's this one famous in my world, I guess, in my industry of fonts. She's made millions off of just a couple fonts that she's made. So there's really potential if you just look into it.
um,
Yeah.
for all of our viewers, can you tell them how much you usually sell your basic fonts or and where to get them?
So if you go to mixfonts.com, that's my own website. I'm available on other font marketplaces, but primarily my website is the place that you can go. Oops, sorry. There, sorry. It's on mixfonts.com. I have a handful of free fonts that you can test out. You can use it for any projects that you might have. But for the paid ones for commercial use, it can range anywhere from $7 to 29. And then I have a bundle where you can buy everything I've ever made as well. And that one goes for $69. Um, and like I said, I have 120 fonts that you guys can choose from. You can get one, you can get all, whichever one you prefer. Mix fonts, it's mixfonts.com. And you can follow me on Instagram too. I'm not sure if it's showing up on the screen. Are you there, Alvin? Oh no. Am I not seeing you? Is it just me? Oh no, that's the wrong website. It's mixfonts.com. I don't see Alvin on here though. There you go. Oh, you disappeared on me. I kind of freaked out a little bit. I can't hear you though. Oh no. So should I? I'm reading the comments. It looks like our host has dropped from the call. I still can't hear you, Alvin. Should I? Nope. This is, I can't hear you. Oh no. Okay, so I'm gonna read up. It's so Keisha's asking what else I've been working on. And I know Alvin kind of prepared this when we were talking about it. So before I did the fonts, um still still not there, Alvin. Before I did fonts, I actually started a after being in the corporate world doing HR for about 11 years, I started a craft website called I Try DIY. And that was just something I did for fun. And then, oh no, eventually I got some of my crafts were picked up. I guess, when you Google, it kind of picks up. Oh, there you are. I hear myself. crafts were picked up, I guess, website. When you Google how they kind of picked up. Oh, there you are. And that was just something I did for fun.
Can you hear me yet?
There, I can hear you. There you go. But I hear myself too. Oh no. Okay, I'll continue my story. So the crafts that I wrote or the tutorials that I put on my website, because they were searchable, kind of led to a couple books being published on crafts for kids. So yeah, how many books do I have now? I think I
Can you hear
have
me yet?
5. Yeah, I can hear you just
Oh, thank
perfectly.
goodness. So
That was an adventure.
how did you do the show? How
I asked myself questions.
did you?
And
That has
Keisha's
never
on
happened before.
Keisha's on the chat. She was asking me, so I was just talking about about my DIY. So the crafts that I put on my website led me to, I think I want to say I'm on my 5th book now. Waiting for the 6th one to come out in the Philippines. I didn't write them on my own. I co-wrote it with a few other people, but the content was primarily mine. So the 5 books were on crafts and DIY, and this last one that I'm waiting to get published is about freelancing in the Philippines. Kind of like what we're talking about, coaching and getting your small business started. It's gonna be in that book, which I don't have information for just yet.
Oh, no worries. I mean,
Mhm.
I was intrigued and I did go on your site to check them out. And I love all the creative names that you came up with. I can't even imagine just thinking about how you created the fonts and then the names to put it together. So is there any story behind them or each of the fonts?
Some of the fonts, yeah. There are some that are inspired by a movie, or sometimes I just ask. Sometimes I work with people when I used to co-work a lot. Just to be around, and you mentioned this in your intro, just being around creative people inspires you to do more creative things. So we had a co-making space in the Philippines too, pre-pandemic, and I would just be around creatives, and they would inspire me like a particular style of font, and then I would either ask them for ideas, or we would be talking about something while I was designing it, and that's how I would name the font. There's one called Mix Heist that was kind of inspired by Money Heist. It looked like a ransom note. So, those type of things, like very random stories behind each one.
Oh, no, it's great. I mean, again, being creative allows you so much opportunity to just rewire your brain and just think of solutions. And I mean, I think it's really, really important that and how inspiring that is for a lot of creatives who just don't realize their potential in being creative. Now, before we move on to the next topic, I want to really thank all the viewers for being with us during the technical difficulties. I know it's a little bit difficult. At least you weren't Mikko, who was on who was on by herself, just doing the interview. So again, thank you again. And if you are watching this live, please hashtag live. And if you're going to catch us on the replay, definitely hashtag replay. And if you're really impressed with how Mikko just handled the situation and all of her creating, go ahead and hashtag fonts and show her some love, because that was difficult. I know last week Phyllis dropped on my call and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And so I can't imagine if a guest was doing it. So yeah, that's crazy. So good job.
It was okay.
For you.
I just did a solo show for a second.
Well, all right, I'll just leave again and see what happens.
No. We're good. We're good.
If anyone has any questions for Mikko and her creative mind, please drop them in the comments and we can answer them during the Q&A portion of the show. So I know you are much more than just a font guru, but I really want to also touch on your I Try DIY, the craft site which you produce. It's really clever and original, but can you tell our viewers where the inspiration came from and the drive for starting that blog?
That actually started. So I moved to the Philippines in 2011. At the time, I was just, I was doing corporate. I want to say for like almost 11 years straight at that point. I was working while I was in college. I moved to New York. I was just really burnt out, I think. So when I got there, I was still doing HR consulting work when I moved there. But I decided it was the time too when there was this whole handmade movement going on. People were going back to 90s crafts. And I just happened to grow up in a house where there were no devices. We were left to our own devices as kids. My mom's very crafty, so I just, kind of picked that up. So at that time, I remember having nieces asking me to teach them how to make things.
Mm-hmm.
And since, I had the time, I wasn't really working full time. I just decided, hey, you know what? And Instagram was just starting around that time too. So I remember, just taking pictures of the things I was making. And since people would always ask me how I made what I posted, I just said, you know what? Might as well just put it up on the site. So I just built I Try DIY. I thought it sounded clever. The Try Guys actually now have a section on their video called Try DIY. I want to claim copyright on that, but I was crafting, and eventually because it was on the web and everybody was searching it, it was on Pinterest. I guess it led to the idea of books. People, the latest book that I did here, they found me they just Googled, because it was a pressed flower book. It was a nature book. So they searched pressed flowers tutorials is how they found me on Google. And because my site really showed like I had the step-by-step process, they saw that I actually did workshops. My photos were decent. Then they said, and everything was done remotely for that particular book. So they knew that they'd be able to assign me, sections for the book, and I could manage it on my own. Because the website actually had that content that they already wanted. So I just had to kind of replicate it for them in the book. So that's how that worked. It's funny how like something I start kind of explodes and becomes something bigger. And that's how it becomes a source of income, because something that started out as just a side hustle, hobby, fun thing to do just becomes a book all of a sudden with royalties, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
and again, that's a testament of who you are and your drive and your passion. I mean, this wasn't a spur of a moment kind of thing either. And, like, I love how you said this was a lifestyle for you, something that you just did when you were young. And then slowly it transformed in something that you could monetize and become sustainable for your career. I mean, I really love one of your sayings, why buy when you can DIY?
You can DIY. Yeah. You got that. Yeah, it's on my website. Yeah.
See, I did some research.
And and a lot of people were telling me, why would you DIY when you can buy? Like they asked me the reverse. And I'm like, because I can make it. And there's something about being able to create your own things. I mean, there are things I won't, DIY. But why? Like, if you can make it and you have the resources and you enjoy doing it, we've kind of lost touch with making things with our hands because of tech. So that's why I always say I'm kind of like that rare breed of craft and tech. Most crafty people are perceived to be non-techie, and people who are non-techie are perceived to not know what to do, with paper. So that's kind of like my special area. I say like that's the niche that I kind of fell into. The crafty, techie person.
Yeah, sometimes it's people, we get so consumed in the things that are made for us, that things that have been pre-planned and have been told that we should buy. I think you're so right that creating things from scratch is important as exercising, as eating right, and even meditation. It's a trigger for all of us to find meaning and purpose in the little things in life, which in turn allows our brains to like think more creatively and even just find solutions to everyday problems. Because, now that we have phones, it's really hard to remember phone numbers. Before, I would rattle all types of phone numbers. But we get so consumed with technology that we forget to find our own solution. So I think that's a really great point that you put out there. I want to acknowledge a lot of all of the viewers out there, because they are all raising their hand and saying that you don't even need me for the show. So Keisha and Mia
Of course
and
I do.
Carol. I mean, goodness gracious. You just took over my show, so I don't know if this might be a passive income for you soon.
We never know.
Yeah, see, there we go. Um, I know we touched on your success stories, but failures are important too. And they are the stepping stones that lead us to success. So, for all the viewers, the artistic people who are still struggling to find creativity as their income, could you share some of your stepping stones that led you to being successful?
I'll just tell this one story that I often share with the creatives I mentor. There's this one popular marketplace for, you can sell your art, your illustrations. Like it's kind of like Etsy for digital stuff. Um, so you have to apply to be able to sell on their site. So the moment, I felt like I made it big by selling a font, I applied right away. I'm like, my font is on a movie. You guys must be. So here I am, thinking I'm it. And I apply. And not even like 24 hours later, I get rejected. Really bad, really bad. Like they told me I was the reasons they put in, like you're unoriginal or, all these things, like you need to show that you know what you're doing. I mean, to be honest, I really didn't know what I was doing yet at the time, but, my head was kind of like reeling from this movie thing. So I thought that I could do it. So I was so mad. Of course, I felt like, a failure. I'm like, how can someone who has this success be rejected by, a marketplace? I could have easily stopped right there. I could have said, I'm done. This font thing is over. They told me I don't have it. Instead, because this is my personality, I have to prove people wrong. I'm
Yeah, of
like, you
course.
know what? I don't need you. I'm like, I don't need you. I don't need your site. I got this. So I built my own site. That's when mixfonts.com was born. I created my own website. I said, you don't want to sell my stuff. I'm going to sell my own. So I created the site. Give it like, I think 3 months later, I get an email from them, some other person, saying, hey, have you ever thought about selling on our site? And I'm like, you guys rejected me not too long ago. But I guess in the 3 months, I was able to display that I was original, that I actually know what I was doing, because I actually studied licenses. I had no clue how that worked at all about, licensing your digital or artwork. I had no clue. But within the 3 months, I kind of knew what I was doing, kind of.
Yeah.
And they, when they invited me, instead of being like, why didn't you invite me, before you rejected me? I just said, sure, thanks, kind of like, okay, now they want me.
Yeah.
So then I got on that website, and actually it's because of that. That's how I made that $7,000 thing that Jay often refers to when he talks about me and my fonts. Like that's the site that actually got me the exposure that I needed for my own website to kind of build. But I guess what I'm saying is, you feel like something is over, but you just kind of push if you
Yeah.
know that there's potential there. I mean, of course, you're not going to push where you have nothing, right? But I still thought, they're ridiculous for rejecting me. So kind of like if you feel like something is not working, you kind of figure out why it's not working, and then you learn and figure out how to fix it instead of just walking away from what potentially could be a big thing.
No, yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, people sometimes feel that failures define who they will become
Mm-hmm.
and as an entrepreneur, as a person, but it's learning how to recognize the failure, how to live with the failure, and how to thrive after the
Mm-hmm.
failure, because that's what success is. It's just a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
failures, and then you finally figured out how to be successful. So that
Yep.
leads me into my next question.
Sure.
For those people looking to turn their careers their hobbies into careers, what would be
Mm-hmm.
a one tip that you would give them as they enter in this like uncertainty in their life?
Often, when you have a hobby or a side hustle, you don't really think of it being a business, right?
Mhm.
So you look at it as just like, oh, extra income on the side. So in order to switch from hobby to actual passive income or another full income stream, you have to start treating it like a business. So you have to assess are you pricing things correctly? Things like that. Who is your market? How can you expand your market? So you have to switch your mindset from this is fun to how can I really make something out of this fun thing I've been enjoying?
Mhm.
Because you can't just switch and say now it's a business and not reassess anything, because you're not going to make a profit off of it,
Yeah.
because you were pricing it based on your heart before, but now you have to be smart about it. Now you're going to start paying taxes, right? Like actual taxes.
Yeah.
Now you're going to source materials in bulk. Now you're going to actually spend to or invest in growing it. So you
Mhm.
can't just treat it the same way, um, because if you keep treating it the same way, you will never make the income that you were hoping to make. You might even lose money. I've had an experience where we were talking to one of our creatives, and she switched from a side hustle to making it a full business. And she was wondering how come her business wasn't growing.
Yeah.
When we actually sat down and looked at her numbers, because she didn't have her own store, she was kind of selling in a kind of like consignment in a different place. We realized that every time she sold something in that consignment store, she was actually losing money because
Oh,
of the
wow.
commissions. So
Yeah.
she, things. So these are things that she never took into consideration. Like, oh yeah, I have to pay a 30% consignment fee or commission that she never took into account. She never raised her prices. She
Mhm.
never streamlined her process. So you actually have to change your mindset into now I'm a business, now I'm a business owner, now I'm a president of a company.
Mhm.
I might have to hire people. It's, kind of for a minute, you have to forget about it just being fun. Um, and in order for it to be fun again, you actually have to start earning money off of it, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy it. You're just going to be so mad that you did all this work for nothing.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to be smart about it. Learn the industry, like who are your competitors, get to know it, get to know them, so you know what you need to do in order to, I mean, not say best them, but kind of like outdo or be your own version of something that's already out there.
Yeah. I mean, when you touched on the points, I mean, when you want to make something into business, you have to just change your mindset. I know a lot of
Mhm.
creatives, they enjoy the process, they enjoy the end result. But when you come into business and you want to monetize anything that you do, you always have to put the numbers together. You have to make sure
Mhm.
that you are critical and analytical to every facet of your business so that you can make money. Because like you said, a lot of people, a lot of artists enjoy what
Mhm.
they do, but
Yes.
then they still struggle. And that's when the art loses focus, because you're too
Mhm.
worried about like how you're going to get your next meal, how you're going to pay your
Correct.
bills. And so you can do both. You can do
Mhm.
both. You just have to be smart. And I love what you said. When you found out that you weren't accepted, you dig down and you really learned about licensing. You
Mhm.
really learned about what you weren't able to offer and why they rejected you. And that's
Mhm.
important. Those are the
Mhm.
failures that you realize. And as you could continue in your business, those are the steps that you need to take so that you can reassess and reevaluate where you are. So I love what
Mhm.
you said, and I love everything that you've been dropping knowledge to all of our creatives. And
Mhm.
I'm a big art fan. Everyone knows well, I don't know if anyone knows, but when I first started college, I wanted to be a
Mhm.
photographer. I wanted to be a painter. And, my typical parents wanted me to be an accountant. So, um, but it was a blessing in disguise, because now I know
Mhm.
about money. I know about
Mhm.
budgeting. I know about how to figure out businesses. And that was really important, because now when I look at what my value is, I know how to look at financials and reassess and see where my
Correct.
business is going. So definitely thank you for all of that.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm sure all of your viewers can say the same. I know they're watching and they love really what you're doing, Mikko. I've seen tons
Thank
of great
you.
comments on the comment boxes. And again, for all the people who really appreciate for Mikko coming out, please smash those heart buttons and let her
Mhm.
show the love, so that she knows how important it is to also for women entrepreneurs to be
Mhm.
able to do this. And you doing on your own is such a testament to your passion, your drive, and how much you bring to this interview. And again, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
You welcome.
Mhm.
I don't know. We don't really have that many questions, because they just love the knowledge that you're dropping. Um, but
Mhm.
before you go, I just wanted to
Mhm.
ask you, in this like lockdown, I know a lot of people had to pivot. What are one thing that you learned about your own self development?
in the pandemic, I had to, I mean, I'm going to admit I had a couple things that I was involved, like businesses that kind of just wouldn't work anymore. So one thing was to actually accept the fact that some things will no longer work, and that's okay. And also look at what is working and how you can grow those things. So for me, it was the acceptance of things ending. I know that's kind of like a sad reality, but a lot of, for me, like pivoting is not, it can be the end of something, but it can also be the addition of something, like the birth of new things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what happened with me is, like the fonts actually kind of took a back seat prior to the pandemic because it was already working. I didn't have to do anything for it to keep on bringing in money for me. But during lockdown, when everything else, I sell things in stores and those stores were closed, I had to, supplement, what, or figure out how to make up for what was lost. So then I had to put the gas on the fonts again and try to figure out how to make, I had the fire for that before. And one thing I guess with the pandemic is that, I had no motivation, especially in the beginning. I didn't, because there was no end in sight. I mean, to a certain degree, there's still no end in sight in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But kind of like trying to force yourself to, I don't want to say get out of bed because, I would, but kind of like force yourself to do things maybe out of your comfort zone because you have to. If you want to grow and survive, you can't just wait for things to happen. You have to make those things happen for you. That was one of those things for me during the pandemic. Like I was doing things that I didn't like. I would actually say I'm never going to do that come what may. And then I ended up doing them because I had to. And I think trying to get other people to do the same was a big thing for me. Pushing others to find their passive income stream too. Yeah, I think that's what
No, that's a
happened
good
for
one.
me.
No, that's, I mean,
Mhm.
that's great. Again, like,
Mhm.
I'm in the travel industry, and the travel industry was decimated. And,
Mhm.
what I was able to do to pivot and try to find some way that I can pay forward the support that I
Mhm.
receive from the Filipino community is why I created
Mhm.
this platform. And really,
Correct.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time of your busy day and, all
Mhm.
the things that you're doing to help our viewers learn more about your story and the importance of taking leaps of faith when it comes to your
Mhm.
passions.
Mhm.
I remember a famous quote which says, until you spread your wings, you will have no idea how far you can fly.
Mhm.
And honestly, Mikko, I know you're flying far and wide. So thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for sharing your story with us. And any last thoughts, Mikko?
Well, I'm actually looking at the the questions here from Keisha. What do I do? Oh, so here's my final thoughts. It kind of goes along with this question. For me, if you're tired, just exhausted from everything, you need to find something to reward yourself so it doesn't feel like everything is just work. So it kind of, works with Keisha's question. What do I do? One thing that I picked up during the pandemic. So anyone who follows me on Instagram will know that I started doing pole dancing in the middle of the pandemic. Never, I think I took a class or two before we were locked down,
Mhm.
but ended up buying a pole to put it in my apartment or my condominium just because I needed something to be different, like something totally different, a
Sure,
challenge that had nothing that I could control, I guess
sure.
is what I'm saying. But yeah, that's what I did. And, I found joy in it. And I found that most people, that's why people were baking during the lockdown. People started picking up some hobby that they never did before.
Mhm.
And I think it kind of works too with having your own business. When you get burnt out, you need to be able to, because now you've turned your hobby into a business, it might not be as fun anymore, so you need to find a new hobby to
Mhm.
kind of distract yourself, to find joy in something else outside of your job, something totally outside of your business, so you can take a breather every now and then. That's what I would tell people.
Well, no, that's awesome. I don't think I'll
You
take that one. But
don't have to do what I do, you can
well,
find some other.
I'll pressure Keisha, so that'll be awesome for both of us.
Hey, why not,
Yeah,
it's a
right.
fun thing to do.
So, but thank you so much, Mikko. I really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
taking the time, and I know all of our viewers really appreciate your time and everything that you said, because sometimes we need this type of for people to say these things, because we know it in our head. You know, we convince ourselves that these things are possible, but when someone does it, it makes it truly materialize for us to be
Mhm.
able to see it. And so your story and everything that you've done is truly inspiring, and I really thank you for being here today with us tonight.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Take care.
Mhm.
So everyone, you know, I'm so happy. I really appreciate for all of your patience, for all the viewers who spent a little time of your day with us. It's people like Mikko who really inspire me to wake up each day and find solutions to my problems. I mean, even her just being able to deal with the tech problems was just amazing. And those are the people that we want to find. You know, I talked about surrounding yourself around positive people. Well, when you're surrounded by so much negativity, it's bright spots in my life that when I can come in contact with people like that, who write their own stories regardless of the circumstances, that really brightens my day. I hope you all felt the same way, and I hope each one of you find your passions in life. You know, I created this platform to be a highlight, but really to give exposure to individuals who break out of the norm and find what's really important to them. And I ask all of our viewers, if you know someone, a business, a story, someone who has something to tell and inspiring others, please tell them to get in contact with me. I would love to have them on our show and highlight all of their inspiring truths and stories so that we can uh, pay this forward to everyone else. I'm always looking for the next entrepreneur and those who are able to pivot through circumstances, especially like this pandemic. But also, too, it's important for us to highlight those people so that we build our community even stronger than it was before the pandemic. For our next show, I have a different person. This person is a little bit more different than Mikko. Her name is Aubrey Hamto, and she's as driven as Mikko, but instead of fonts and DIY, she has found her numbers or her niche in math and numbers. She's an educator who turned her love for teaching into a business that she can call her own. And her story is really unique because she opened her business in the beginning right before the pandemic started. And her husband have been innovating ever since. See, I don't know how the viewers see it, but I feel that educators are really true superheroes. They don't often get the recognition they deserve, but I hope through this interview I can show people her amazing story, her journey towards entrepreneurship. Our show will have a different schedule next week since being an educator is really demanding. So next week, our show will be on April 30th at 2:30 p.m. And I really can't wait for all our viewers to listen to Aubrey. Before we end tonight's show, I wanted to ask the audience for any people who have an urge to help mold the next generation of young Filipino leaders. I believe it's really important to always create a pipeline of resources, talent, and opportunities for these thriving leaders. And through the nonprofit that I serve, PhilPro, we are always looking for volunteers to mold the youth. So if you or you know somebody who may be interested in volunteering some time in educating or inspiring and creating opportunities for these young Philams, please #volunteer, and I will personally reach out to you. It has always been my passion to give back, and I urge all of our viewers to find the time to do so as well. There is nothing more enriching and fulfilling when you do this. So again, my name is Alvin Adriano. I'm a Filipino entrepreneur, an advocate for our community. And if you love what you hear tonight, please #celebrate and let's keep inspiring each other. So thank you so much for being here tonight on Celebrating Filipino Entrepreneurs. Till next time, mabuhay.